Ready to rock and roll.
You
Hi, everybody,
think?
John McLaughlin. Time for another Warrior Wednesday, and today the ultimate warrior, the man that is synonymous with truth, justice, logic, common sense, all the above, Mr. Ted Nugent.
Well, John, happy October and the insanity of, I was going to use the military term cluster whack 22. But boy, look in my eyes. If you can see my eyes, and yes, those are bags under my eyes, but they're ammo bags, so everything's going to be okay. I am celebrating the definitive, the ultimate, the effervescence of the outdoor lifestyle American dream in spite of the treachery, the criminality, the tyranny, the abuse of power, the gangsters that infest our government. So here's a little Uncle Ted tech tip from the guitar player from Detroit, your backstrap daddy. Improvise, adapt, and overcome, and be a warrior for your own American dream. It can be done. If the guitar player can do it, anybody can do it.
That's exactly what we're up against in Iowa. We've been working for about a dozen years on behalf of all of our blood brothers out there, the backstrap-loving, giant corn-fed Iowa deer-shooting folks, trying to get constitutional protection for the Second Amendment in Iowa. We're one of the few states, we're adjacent to Minnesota, which doesn't protect the Second Amendment, but Iowa is going to vote on that November 8th to finally add this to the Constitution. And what would you tell those folks out there heading to the polls? 2A, up or down?
Come on, everybody take a deep breath and try to exorcise the political correctness and the lifetime of brainwashing and the treachery of intentional control and tyranny over our thought processes. My name is Ted Nugent. I am a critical thinker. Listen closely. You might want to write this down, maybe even record these words that have iron. I don't need any man to authorize my right to speak my mind. I don't need paperwork. I don't need a license. I don't need a permit to choose my religion. I don't need any man to authorize me to protest against my elected employees. I don't need any man to tell me I need a permit, paperwork, or a license to have security from jackbooted thugs who might want to play Braveheart or Patriot with me. My First Amendment right was written down coming out of the hell of tyranny and King George punk thugs who would come into our camps and take our women, take our produce, even take our lives. The First Amendment is a 4-series God-given individual right that is guaranteed by the United States Constitution, First Amendment. Now, John, shall we move on to the Second Amendment? Everyone listen closely.
Yep.
I don't need any man, in fact, no man exists to authorize or offer me a permit or a license for my right to keep and bear arms. My name is Ted Nugent. I was born with the God-given individual right, as guaranteed by the Second Amendment, to keep and bear arms 24/7, 365, 74 years on American soil. And John, I take it a step further because I don't think the Constitution and Bill of Rights limits me to American rights. I believe as a human being, a free man created in the image and likeness of God. I hope people are paying attention because these kinds of truisms are what has labeled me a radical, an extremist. Well, you're damn right I'm a radical and extremist because I don't speak sheep talk. I don't speak German. I don't speak proper English because I'm a free American. I have the right from God, as outlined in the Second Amendment, to keep and bear, not keep in case, not keep in lock, not keep in truck, to keep and bear arms on my person on planet Earth while I am alive. And I would dare anybody to play Pierce Morgan with me so I could go back to the Concord Bridge and explain how some other man will determine if, when, or how I can defend my life and keep and bear arms. See, that's where we've become. Some people go, well, they need to declare that you have a constitutional right. Are you kidding me? So I need some man to go, by the way, Ted, I give you the Constitution. You don't give me jack squat. I had that when I was born. So my friends in Iowa, good morning. Good morning, and finally get your head out of your apathetic ass and demand truth, logic, and common sense. God created you as a free man, as guaranteed by the outline, self-evident truth in the Constitution. Currently, Americans are being infringed by the abuse of power that we let them have all these years. And I know some people are going, well, as if you can carry a gun. Well, guess what? You might not have heard the last couple sentences I gave you. My name is Ted Nugent. I keep and I bear arms, especially in Cluster Crack 22, where the Democrat Party has engineered recidivism, rewards the most vicious, violent murderers and rapists and shooters and stabbers and carjackers. The Democrat Party celebrates vicious, life-threatening, life-destroying criminals while they try to continue to infringe on our right to keep and bear arms to defend our precious gift from life. And if anybody has any questions about that tirade I just shared with you, John, they can call 1-800-NUMBNUT, and maybe Michael Moore can explain how you have to obey him. Good luck with that, children. See, this is the kind of stuff I do every day. I dare anybody to debate me on this. I dare any elected employee or any Second Amendment organization or any human being to tell me how somebody else will determine whether I can keep and bear arms. This is funnier than Richard Pryor's stand-up. I obey no illegal, immoral, or tyrannical commands. You want me to wear a mask? I'll shove it up. You try to give me I got a few of my own, and we're not experimenting anymore. My work. I take authorized research medicine, not anything. Am I ringing any bells here, John?
You know, I've been by 223, 556, 762, 308, all the main, right?
Well, I got to tell you that Ted Nugent, the author of Wango Tango, which was one of the greatest love songs ever, obviously, when you have to rely on a guitar player from Detroit, but again, I never went to college. I was too busy learning real important stuff.
Right.
And the evidence I have that saturates that last rant, I have all the evidence in the world to support every word I have stated with you. And again, I dare, anybody got a podcast you want to debate me? You want to do what Bill Maher tried to do when I ate his family lunch? You want to do what Pierce Morgan did to me and try to tell me somebody else decides whether I can defend myself? I'll eat your family tree and spit toxic sawdust in your face. I've got truth, logic, common sense, goodwill, decency, self-evident truth, and all the evidence in the world to support every word out of my mouth. So if somebody wants to gather their thoughts and debate me on your podcast, bring it on. I haven't danced on any imbecilic skulls lately, and I'd really enjoy the ballet.
Now, you mentioned our government overreach, the tyrannical three-letter agencies out there. We've seen that in Iowa. We've had them showing up at gun shops that have been in business for years, done literally thousands and thousands and thousands of transactions. They audit them, they find 7 errors out of 55,000 data entries, and then they take their FFL. How has the world changed since you were on stage November 8th, 2016 in Grand Rapids till today?
You know, it's been a heartbreaking, emotional, yet very inspiring plunge, tailspin, suicidal death march into toxic, tyrannical, emperor-type dictatorship by this horrible human being in the White House, his entire family, his entire party, and most of the Republicans. If anybody thinks there are limitations on the Second Amendment and don't see those as infringements, and that the term jackbooted thugs is inappropriate when people who are abusing their power and violating their oath to the Constitution, if those people can't see that everything I say is supported by the U.S. Constitution, the Bill of Rights, not only that, John, but everything in our instinct that the Founding Fathers wrote down in those sacred pillars of the unique American dream, freedom, unprecedented in the history of humanity. And now everybody knows that the FBI, the Federal Bureau of Investigation, I know these men and women. I've had to rely on these men and women. I've done federal raids I've got 14 felony arrests to my credit during raids in Waco, Texas with the U.S. Marshals and some great warriors of the FBI. But I would say when the FBI is conducting themselves universally today as jackbooted thugs, Lon Horiachi is still not in jail for killing Vicki Weaver and her son. The jackbooted thugs that raided the Branch Davidian, all right, they were punks and they were goofball zombie sheep, but you can be a goofball zombie sheep in America. And if you're not hurting somebody else, the ATF were the criminals in that raid. Janet Reno is basically the devil wench from hell. And now James Comey, who doesn't know he's just like MS-13 and the Crips and the Bloods and the Black Lives Matter and Antifa and Wall Street, Occupy Wall Street, the FBI, John, the ATF coming knocking on doors, violating their oath. Want to see the guns you bought last week? You don't have any right to see the guns I bought last week. You have to have probable cause. Now that's from the guitar player who never went to law school, because I know instinctively what is jackboot thuggery and what is freedom. So I'm sorry to hear that this is happening in the beautiful, beautiful state to the wonderful families of Iowa. But John, it's happening to some degree in all 50 states. So here, I'm not just going to continue to point out, your house is on fire, your barn is on fire, hey, those are flames coming out of your living room. No, I'm not that kind of guy. I only mention the flames coming out of your living room once. Then I grab a hose and start putting them out. Here's how you grab the hose and put out the flames of tyranny. It sounds too simple to be true, but we've proven it in about 6 states. HunterNation.org. Now, I'm a lifetime member of the NRA. I was voted on the board of directors with the most votes for 28 years. I'm on the board of directors of Gun Owners of America. I support the Second Amendment Foundation. I belong to multiple state Second Amendment organizations. United States Concealed Carry Association. United States Concealed Carry Association. But this is the one A10 warthog for freedom in all the gun rights movement, and that is HunterNation.org, because we found out, heartbreakingly, John, that in most states, do you know that the ultimate conservative, the ultimate God, family, country, law and order family would be the licensed hunting families of this nation? And in most states, John, you want your heart broke even worse? More than 50% of licensed hunters in most states have never even registered to vote. They squawk and they whine and they point out the flames of the house, they point out your barn's burning, and they never lift up the hose and spray water on the flames. They just squawk because apathy is worse than communism, apathy is worse than Marxism, apathy is worse than the Democrats, apathy is worse than Janet Reno, apathy is worse than Sarah Brady. Apathy is worse than Nancy Pelosi and Hillary Clinton and Joe Biden. Apathy is the suicide of America. HunterNation.org. We need to get licensed. If we just get a meaningful percentage, I wish 100%, but if we just get an increased percentage of licensed hunters to vote their conscience, I'm not going to tell you who, I don't have to. If you believe in God, family, country, law, and order, being the best that you can be, I know who you're going to vote for. You're going to vote for a conservative. HunterNation.org. Somebody please write it down. When we do this broadcast, put it on the screen. Right. HunterNation.org. We're registering licensed hunters to vote, and we can win everything just with that army of conservatives.
Let's talk a minute about standing up. It seems like over the last several years that the media has become more emboldened to attack folks on the right, the conservatives, the 2A folks. And so many people today seem like, well, I don't want to say too much because I'll get canceled off my social media account, or the folks at work may not, agree with what I say. I think the time for staying silent is long past. It's the time to stand up, or this whole thing could be over.
John, I don't have a whole lot of linguistics in my communication quiver. Boy, that's kind of a cool phrase unto itself. I don't have many linguistics in my communication quiver. I wish my communication quiver was like my bow hunting quiver. Then I'd have all kinds of linguistic arrows in my quiver. Let me speak to those who are afraid to stand up. Let me speak to those who are not registered to vote and don't have a meaningful impact on the constitutional direction of America. I will speak to those people right now. How embarrassing. And let me put it in perspective for my friends who don't speak up. I've saluted, is it thousands of flag-draped coffins over in Iraq and Afghanistan and at different military events since the 1960s? Thousands of flag-draped coffins that made the ultimate sacrifice. They're not going deer hunting this year. They're not celebrating their families' weddings and anniversaries and birthdays and bar mitzvahs and Christmas and Thanksgiving. Those flag-draped coffins, they hold the remains of warriors who charged into evil so that Americans can vote. And when you don't vote, you might as well just go up to a flag-draped coffin and now that's harsh, but nowhere near as harsh as not paying the simple, minimal price for what those warrior heroes sacrificed for us. And you know, I wish we could just talk about backstraps because I got a bunch hanging. I wish we could just talk about Happy Sadie and Coco retrieving ducks because we got a whole bunch hanging. I'm having such a wonderful hunting season, but I fight like this in the media all over the world every day between 10 a.m. and 2. In the first 3 hours of daylight, I'm in a tree or a duck blind. And then in the middle of the day, I'll go into the pheasant marsh. I have carved out an American dream of priorities, but my number one priority are the words, the irrefutable, self-evident truth words that I share with you, John. Because you care, I care, and I know a bunch of people care. But if you're not speaking up, Nancy Pelosi says, thank you for being silent. Joe Biden says, thank you for being a wimp. Because I'm going to continue to send your tax dollars to our enemies. I'm going to continue to shut down our energy dominance that Donald Trump created. And I'm going to slither and beg for pity from our enemies for some of their raw crude. I mean, I could go on. I'm going to continue to give our enemies trillions of dollars worth of state-of-the-art U.S. military weaponry that you and I have to pay for. You just keep letting these tyrants continue to absolutely destroy America and side with the Chinese communists all the time blaming Putin. That Putin hasn't done jack squat compared to what Joe Biden has done, or what Hunter Biden or Nancy Pelosi or Dr. Fauci. I mean, so I just hope that people pay attention. I hope people also go to the Ted Nugent Real America Voice Spirit Campfire. I have my own. I'm just going to bring that up. And I do a nightly Nuge, truth, logic, and common sense. So I'm a busy, busy man, and I'm 74, and I'm actually tired, John, but I'm inspired because I hear from heroes of the military every day that give me these coins you see behind me and thank me for fighting for what their brothers died for. That's what they tell me, John. So my friends out there with John and I, please dedicate at least an hour a day to communicating with your elected officials. They're not the elected officials. We are the electing officials. Communicate with your mayor, your senator, your congressman, your governor, your attorney general, your sheriff, your chief of police, your state trooper commander, your game department head. Let them know what you know to be true. Let them know how you see these abuse of power and that we believe in self-defense and the Second Amendment is not supposed to be infringed. And if you're infringing with my keeping and bearing arms, I'm legal, you're illegal. So there's a lot of simple ways. And again, I'm just a guitar player, but I'm a husband, a father, I'm a guide, an outfitter, a farmer, a band leader, a band member. I'm a author. I'm a off-road racer. I'm just an American dreamer who puts my heart and soul into being the best that I can be. And right now, Uncle Sam, this breaks my heart, John. It's going to really cause a lot of people to be angry. Uncle Sam is the enemy of America right now. and we need to straighten this son of a bitch out. And if we the people don't do it, he'll continue to tromp on us. And you've given me examples in Iowa there that are inexcusable. We need to push back. I'm a pushback guy, and I could tell you some examples of that. But my friends, we the people have the authority. The Constitution doesn't give us any rights at all. It limits the power of the government. Why have none of these words I've stated? I am verbose. I know I have a loud mouth. Nothing I've said this morning, John, has ever been uttered in a school in the United States of America. And that's why we are where we are, because we've been brainwashed and we bend over and continue to take it. Don't bend over. Don't continue to take it. Let's get serious.
You mentioned Real America's Voice. Terrence, been on with him several times on the morning show talking about Second Amendment stuff. I tell you, your spirit campfire, it's humor, it's God, country, guns, all that stuff. It's 9 o'clock Central on Friday, and Real America's Voice, for the folks that don't know, a lot of us that used to be in the media now have migrated over to the social platforms and can actually speak our minds. We actually have a voice that's not controlled by somebody else. So they're on Pluto, they're on all the different platforms out there. So look that up. Real America's Voice, Spirit Campfire. Got the Matthews out, folks. Here we go.
Well, here's the kind of stuff that Uncle Ted does on podcasts that nobody else does. And I'm not just talking bow hunting podcasts. I'm not just talking archery podcasts. I do it on major media all over the world. I have so many arrows here. I gotta move my arrows. I got a target over there about 20 feet away. But here's what I celebrate. I've been clean and sober for 74 years. I had a great morning duck hunting with Happy Sadie and Coco. I'm going to carve out some sacred venison from the skeletons of some God-given cervids that provide me the definitive protein nourishment on earth. And I celebrate it to people who have never shot a bow, have never eaten venison, and it's contagious, because when Uncle Ted talks about the mystical flight of the arrow as a martial art of being in control of not just the arrow, but your life, when you can have your left hand and your right hand talk to each other, and your spirit and your mind and your body and your soul all become one with the mystical flight of the arrow, that's the power and control we can have over our lives, John. And that's why I'm like I am, because I'm in charge of my life. Constitution, Bill of Rights, 10 Commandments, Golden Rule, goodwill, decency, work ethic, law and order, good over evil. Right now, Uncle Sam represents evil over good. How heartbreaking is this? And I'm still having the best hunting season of my life. My middle finger never goes to sleep, by the way, John.
I know you're fertilizing that crop, and they're popping up all over.
It's a beautiful thing. So my point is that it's very intimidating. Now, I'm not intimidated. I'm the intimidator, because I'm we the people. And nobody respects law enforcement more than I do. I am law enforcement. I've been a sheriff deputy for 40 years now. I've conducted federal raids with these heroes when there were a lot of heroes in federal agencies. There's not many anymore. In fact, hey, all you FBI agents, how do you obey an immoral command? How can you possibly obey a command that forces you to violate your sacred oath to the Constitution? What's wrong with you guys? Have you lost your soul? When you become an FBI agent now, or an ATF agent, what do? Check your soul in at the door, and you just blindly obey, and you violate your constitutional oath? What happened to you people? What a shame. I would recommend you discover your soul and your heart and your conscience and do the right thing. And when your commander, when James Comey or this Christopher Wray tells you to do something immoral, stand up and go, no, I can't do that. That violates my conscience and my oath to the Constitution. By the way, buddy, you're under arrest. That's what needs to happen. Well, that's radical. You think? But people go, well, Nugent's out of his mind. No, if you think I'm out of my mind, you're out of your mind. I'm not a sheep. Don't be a sheep. When somebody tells you to do something immoral and against your spirit and your will, be Rosa Parks. Yeah. Defy stupid people who wear sheets on their head.
We've seen a few that have come out, but as you know, as I know several folks that are with these 3-letter groups, and you just wonder when are they going to stand up? When are they going to come out? When are they going to say no?
You know, John, I don't know if you see this. This is my grandson, Felix. That's one of my many grandchildren. You know, I gave a list of what I do in life. I'm a father, a husband. I'm also a grandfather. And I teach them all to aim small, miss small, to put their heart and soul into being the best that they can be. By the way, Iowa, the Iowa Bow Hunters, God bless you guys and gals. We've had the Ted Nugent Camp for Kids 501c3 nonprofit volunteer charity in Iowa for many years now. Mm-hmm. And we've graduated, I think, tens of thousands of boys and girls between 7 and 17 in our Ted Nugent Camp for Kids. And it goes on in Iowa because of the Iowa Bow Hunters and generous, loving, God, family, country, law and order families. So I thank you. So we're not alone. And I see these kids. Last week in Waco, Texas, John, we have these big, fat, perverted slobs, these men dressed up like women with spandex and pantyhose and prostitute makeup and wigs, twerking and giving crotch shots to little boys and girls in Waco, Texas. And it happens in New York and Illinois and California and Virginia. And my friends stood up, and we are raising and we're forcing arrests for lewd and lascivious?
Lascivious, yep.
This is just perversion. This is the sexualization, the abuse of little boys and girls. So I know the difference. We've had a little boy and girl charity. Teach them aim small, miss small, be the best that you can be. Be clean and sober. Thank God for your incredible gift of life every day. Safe firearms handling, hunter safety, trapping, fishing, self-sufficiency, resource stewardship, conservation. Stop me when I get to the bad part. It's almost like I'm Mother Teresa with a Glock. And so that Camp for Kids is the right thing. These liberals and Democrats getting dressed up like prostitutes and twerking little John, pray for America. Please, everybody join me at hunternation.org. And let's be a conservative voting army that crushes these satanic monsters in the liberal, Democrat, Marxist, communist world that infest our government, our schools. John, I wish I had a kid in a school right now where they pulled this crap on us. I'd film it. I'd fix these monsters. So my point is, fix the monsters. Don't let the monsters get away with it anymore. Be sure you communicate. And I'll say it again. When's the last time you called your mayor and gave him your observations and your beliefs? Your senator, your congressman, your governor, your attorney general, your chief of police, your state trooper commander, your sheriff. When was the last time we, the people, reminded our elected employees of the American God, family, country, law, and order dream? And in the absence of that, you got fat pigs like the Joint Chiefs of Staff, General Mark Milley. I think he looks just like the guys that were dressed up in prostitute outfits, twerking children. This guy is a liar. This guy is a traitor. This guy committed treason when John, the Joint Chiefs of Staff, General Mark Milley, looked right in the camera and went, yeah, I called the communist Chinese commander, military commander, and warned him what our plans were. What? And people went, hey, that isn't right. No, don't just say that isn't right. Stop this monster. Somebody arrest this guy. Somebody arrest Nancy Pelosi for ripping up my State of the Union address on TV live. How about arresting Hunter Biden for any one of the hundreds of felonies he's committed on film? I could go on, but I'm already thinking about which tree stand I'm going to be in this afternoon.
All right, we'll get focused on that, but we have our marching orders. Folks, you got to stand up out there, pray for the country, show up to the polls on November 8th, and make a difference. Be with Ted.
John, thank you for the opportunity, and I know I got a big mouth, but let's all take a deep breath and admit, I believe this with all my heart and soul after much lifetime scrutiny and research. I, Ted Nugent, am exactly what the founding fathers wanted all Americans to be like. Suspicious of all authority,
Yep.
suspicious of all decrees and commands and regulations and rules and laws to make sure that they pass the constitutional litmus test. And when our elected employees can vote themselves raises and vote themselves gazillions of dollars in programs without authorization from their boss, the boss being we the people, it's not even America anymore. We're like a suburb of Venezuela, the way Joe Biden is destroying things. So all I can say, hunternation.org, register to vote. And I know Iowa, John, I know Iowa. That's working hard, playing hard America. That's conservation, environmental resource stewardship, walk the wild ground, be the best that you can be, manage wildlife in the asset column, and Iowa does a great job of that. They got some flaws, but for the most part, they do a good job. I know Iowa families, and some people will be offended by this, as if I can get away with any sentence that does it. Iowa, the best of Iowa, I'm you. You're me. And if anybody wants to dissect any word I've said, and believe me, they're going to, take any sentence, any phrase, any moment that I've shared with you all here with John, write it down, record it, and challenge me. I dare you. I'm not even speaking from Ted Nugent's hunch. I don't have any guesswork. These aren't presumptions. Well, I presume I have a Second Amendment to keep. I don't presume jack diddly. Self-evident truth is my blood. Amen. And we are in a horrible, horrible time and position, and we can fix this if conservatives vote in numbers. And here's how racist I am, John. The only people that should get to vote in America are citizens who are alive and get one vote. Somebody argue that with
me. No, that's far too radical.
It's unbelievable. It's too hysterical that some people, that's racist. I didn't mention any race. I think you have to be an American citizen. You have to be alive, and you only get one vote. So let's make sure that happens. And that's what hunternation.org is doing, and another nonprofit, huntthevote.org. So I hope you can put hunternation.org and huntthevote.org on here. And if I may, and I know you will, there's a great charity. Since Uncle Sam has opened the borders and abandoned the number one responsibility of a government, and that's to secure the borders, yep, where they are knowingly importing chemical warfare with fentanyl, yep, and poisons to kill Americans. But there's a bunch of young people in Nebraska, I think they're in Kansas, a bunch of young people that are saving young Americans' lives from this intentional chemical warfare by Uncle Sam. And it's called FullCircleProgram.com. It's a charity, FullCircleProgram.com. They're saving young lives in America that otherwise our government is bringing in fentanyl to kill them. These words hurt coming out, John. I know it hurts to even hear these words because you know they're true. FullCircleProgram.com, young Americans saving young Americans' lives.
Ted Nugent, thank you for joining us today. Stay in the fight, brother, and we will watch you on Spirit Campfire, 9 o'clock Central every Friday night here in Iowa.
Thank you very much. And thank you, everybody, for your support of Ted Nugent Spirit of the Wild TV for 34 years from public television, outdoor channel. Ted Nugent Spirit of the Wild TV with the Queen of the Forest, Shemaine. We go to Pursuit Channel in January of 23. And I hope everybody has the safest, the most enjoyable, the fun, the most challenging, exciting, thrilling, productive, venison-infested hunting season of your lives in this beautiful, beautiful time of fall and winter 2022. Maximize your time in the great spirit of the wild so it will fortify your soul to fight against the evil that is now confronting us here in the United States of America. Thank you, John, for everything you do. You and I are blood brothers, and I love you, buddy.
Thank you, brother. We'll talk to you soon.
All right, man. Godspeed. Live it up. God bless real America. The rest of them can kiss my